Thanks a lot for joining, folks. Welcome to episode 3 of the Hip Hop Humboldt podcast. I'm going to be bringing you this week's new hip hop releases and some news items. I wanted to first give a word and actually my condolences to the families in Houston that were disaffected after Travis Scott's ASTROWORLD tour incident. You guys may have seen 8 people were killed. The first words were that they were trampled after the front gates were busted through. This, from reports, sounds like the third year in a row where the fans have busted through the front gates and people were hurt. And I'm not here to specifically blame Travis Scott's event people over the fans, because there's also reports that someone may have been shooting people up in the neck. There were multiple people, including a security guard as well, that said that he felt a prick. And that might have been what actually killed some people. So it's hard to say what all happened there, folks. I want folks to remember that this is not what's supposed to happen at concerts. I go to concerts. I've been going to dozens of concerts for a long time. And, you know, nobody's ever died at any of the concerts I've gone to. I just went to a concert just a few weeks ago down in Ontario. I was in the front row. There was fortunately seating in this concert to where there can't just be a ton of people pushing forward. That's what, happens. I was at a concert in San Bernardino back in 2019, the Kaya Fest. It was the Marley Brothers all putting on a big show, and there was no seating at that concert, and it was not the best put together situation. And I was in the front, towards the front, and yeah, people got pushed. A lot of people got pushed and squeezed, and it was not that great. You got to be careful at these big events, folks. Just be on the lookout for yourself. Make sure that you're taking care of other people as well. If you see somebody hurt or in need, you help them out. You don't just, walk over them or let other people walk over them. It does sound like people even tried to stop the show once they knew that people had actually died, and nobody stopped the show. It's hard to say. Like I said, I can't blame anybody in specific. I wasn't there, but it's an unfortunate situation, and it shouldn't happen again. And I want to give my condolences to the families. On a brighter note, we just had Jay-Z and LL Cool J both get inducted into the Rock and Roll Hall of Fame. Shout out to Jay-Z. He apparently let an olive branch out to longtime friend Dame Dash, and it seems like Dame Dash is, accepting that olive branch, and their relationship might be on the mends. That's really good to see. I'm really glad to see that. Shout out to Dame Dash. To get into the new albums for this week, Summer Walker just dropped an album called Still Over It. It's getting a lot of attention on the socials. I suggest you check it out. One of my favorites, BJ the Chicago Kid, dropped an EP called 3, and that's what it is, 3 tracks. And if you like R&B and if you like BJ the Chicago Kid sound, check it out. Toronto's Pressa releases the deluxe edition of his Gardner Express album that dropped last year. This deluxe edition doubled the amount of songs from 7 to 14, and now it's got features like Sway Lee and Flip De Niro, and you might want to check that album out. Key Glock drops a new project called Yellow Tape 2, and I'm not in particular a fan of trap, but this album goes. And actually, some tracks are more drill than trap. My picks from this album, when you're listening to it, because you're gonna want to listen to it. My picks are Bill Gates, a track called Tony. Ambition for Cash is a track produced by Britavius Keith Chambers, none other than Tay Keith. And another few tracks that were dope were Check This Out, and I Like Love a Thug. That was another good one. I really recommend this Key Glock album, Yellow Tape 2. You're going to want to check that one out. Next up, we've got Portland's Amin coming with his 2.5 mixtape on the road to his next album. We're going to get this 2.5 mixtape to marinate on. If you haven't already seen his Charmander video, you're going to want to check that out. You know, he's got that playful new wave sound. And on this album, my picks are Okay With Me. The bass was bumping on that beat. That Mad Funny freestyle is fun, and it's only like 101 seconds. The last track on the album, Meant to Be, is another one of my picks. It's got a Super Mario old school video game sample for the lead and some 808s on the beat. And the whole album is upbeat. So if you need some uplifting, this is an album for you this week. I liked it. Shout out to Amin in Portland and West Coast hip hop. It's not just in Cali anymore. Speaking of West Coast hip hop that's not just in Cali, shout out to Winnie up in Portland. She just dropped a couple singles with Christo. That's a producer who you might have heard produce tracks with Dreamville young up-and-comer J.I.D. Christo's produced tracks on that Never Story, J.I.D.'s second album. And Return to the Dreamers 3. Christo was also producing tracks on there. But yeah, Christo produced these 2 tracks for Winnie. And you're going to want to check those out too if you're into, female MCs. Dimrick, next up, just dropped his 7th album called Stony Point 3. If you're into underground hip-hop artists with bars, you're definitely going to want to check that Dimrick. New singles for the week, we have Travis Scott just dropped his Escape Plan and Mafia EP. A couple new singles there. We got Snoop Dogg, Jadakiss, Benny the Butcher, and Busta Rhymes all on a track produced by Knots. How could that track not be some fire? It's called Murder Music. That's highly recommended. Drake just dropped a video for his Knife Talk track off of Certified Lover Boy, and that's featuring 21 Savage and Project Pat. I know Halloween is over, but Drizzy is dropping that Halloween horror flick vibes with the video. You'll want to check that out. My pick for the week is none other than LA's own Terrace Martin's 7th album. It's called Drones. Now, I'm going to have an entirely separate episode dedicated to an album review of this Drones album. It was executive produced by Top Dog's Punch, by James Fauntleroy, and by, of course, Terrace Martin himself. Frequent Terrace Martin collaborator Robert Glasper's on the album, and we're also looking at collaborations with Kendrick, Snoop Dogg, Smino, Aaron Ray, Ty Dolla $ign, YG, D Smoke, Cordae, and Hit Boy. Speaking of Hit Boy, I want to make sure you don't miss that track on this album, Griots from the Crenshaw District, with Terrace Martin, Hit Boy, Robert Glasper, and Kamasi Washington, all on an instrumental track. This album, Drones, was 13 tracks, and it was absolute fire. I recommend you check it out today on all of your digital streaming platforms. For new albums coming up, we got Joel Ortiz releasing his album called Autograph this Friday, November 12th. He just released a single off it called In My Feelings, and he's getting pretty personal on that track. I guess that's going around with Slaughterhouse right now because we got Joe Budden blowing up on the socials from this be coming out as bisexual thing. I can't call it if it's a stunt for clicks, which Joe is known for. If it's legit, then leave that man alone. It's nothing new, and why do people want to target a black man's sexuality like this? Regardless, the memes are killing him right now, especially this one.
I mean, I'm from around the way. I'm leaving with something. I'm leaving here with something.
That Denzel.
I mean, I'm from around the way. I'm leaving with something.
I mean, that was the best one I want to say. Anyways, shout out to Joe Budden. I hope his mental health is okay. Last week we were checking on Will. Has anybody checked on Joe Budden today? Next up, top dog and West Coast producer powerhouse, known for supporting big names like Kendrick, Nipsey Hussle, Mac Miller, and the whole, like I said, Top Dog Entertainment, mixed by Ali. He's been producing for a long time, and he's bringing out his own recording label called No Name Recordings. An artist off that new record label called Malik Moses just dropped a single called Show Me Something. You'll definitely want to check that one out. Next up is a favorite of mine, Mellow Music Group producer Apollo Brown and MMG's Stolly. Both, a couple of my favorite artists, are dropping an album on Mellow Music Group called Blacklight on November 9th in just a few days here. That's going to be a don't miss. Apollo Brown has collaborated with some of my favorite artists over the years like Sky Zoo, Shay Noir, Tech Nine, Planet Asia. I'm sure there's a few that I'm forgetting. You're going to want to check that album out. I'm definitely going to be checking for that on Tuesday. A big one, we got Earth Gang coming out with a new album called Ghetto Gods. It's expected to drop January 28th, so we do have a while before that one. Last but not least, we got a new album just announced from Saba. The album is called A Few Good Things, and he released a single off it called Fearmonger. It's a jazzy, funky single, which Saba's known for. He's on the electric guitar and goes, from a jazzy feeling, like I said, into a bit more of a hard rock chord progression as the sound crescendos up towards the end of the song. It's a great track, and I'll really be looking forward to that new Saba album. Thanks for joining, folks. That's it for this week. I appreciate you joining me for this episode 3 of the Hip Hop Humboldt podcast. Tune in next week for more album drops and releases. Don't forget to keep an eye out for my review of the Terrace Martin Drones album. You can follow me on all the socials at Hip Hop Humboldt. You can follow me on Facebook, Twitter, Twitch, Instagram, YouTube. Just search Hip Hop Humboldt. Thanks a lot.